And watch for this one, palms facing inwards. The gesture of having palms facing inwards, particularly when paired with other behaviors. In my last video, I said I would do the next one on body language because this can really help a person navigate their own lives a bit better when it comes to the narcissists in their lives. So here it is. Understanding body language is crucial when dealing with narcissists because it can give you a subtle cue about their true feelings, their intentions, and attitudes. Narcissists often rely on nonverbal cues to assert dominance, manipulate, or protect their fragile self-esteem. So here are some body language signs to watch out for when interacting with them. You want to look at exaggerated posture. Narcissists, they tend to adopt expansive, dominant body postures. They might stand tall, or they might puff their chest out, or take up more space by spreading their limbs or sitting in a wide stance. And this is a way of asserting dominance and signaling superiority. It can also be an unconscious attempt to seem more powerful and important than others. Then this is a big one here, eye contact. Narcissists, they might maintain intense or overly focused eye contact. They'll often stare at the person to dominate the conversation or to manipulate the dynamics. It's uncomfortable, which is why they do it. They use eye contact to control the situation or make others feel intimidated. In contrast, they might avoid eye contact when they're being confronted or challenged because it might reveal their vulnerability. Then there's the dead stare that many people refer to in narcissists. The death stare or dead stare, they use both words. It's a term that's often used to describe a specific kind of expression in which a person appears emotionally detached, vacant, or unengaged, almost as though they're not present or connected to the world around them. And this type of stare is particularly associated with narcissists, especially those with covert narcissism or individuals who are emotionally manipulative or emotionally distant. So here's a closer look at what this stare means and why it happens and how it appears. The person's face is typically blank with no obvious expression or emotion. There's no smile, there's no frown, no warmth. They can appear almost frozen or unnaturally neutral. They have these vacant eyes. The eyes are often described as empty or cold. There's little to no emotional connection in the gaze, and it might feel as though that they're staring through you, not at you. They'll stare without blinking for an extended period, adding to the unsettling feeling that something is off. It's a cold, intense gaze. It is unsettling, almost predatory or hostile intensity behind their gaze, making it feel unnerving, like really unnerving. The dead stare is often a reflection of deeper emotional or psychological dynamics within the narcissist, particularly their need to protect themselves or maintain control over situations. Some possible reasons for the behavior can be emotional detachment or disassociation. Narcissists, especially covert narcissists, often have this difficulty connecting with their own emotions or with others' emotions. They tend to be emotionally detached, and the dead stare or the death stare is a reflection of this. When faced with situations that require emotional engagement or empathy, they might disassociate from their feelings, giving off a vacant or a distant look. Lack of empathy. One of the hallmarks of narcissism is a lack of true empathy. When interacting with others, a narcissist can appear indifferent or even cold. And this isn't necessarily a conscious decision, but rather a reflection of their inability or unwillingness to emotionally connect with other people's experiences. The dead stare can signal that they're not emotionally invested in the interaction, or that they are processing it in a shallow, unemotional way. Number 3, emotional manipulation or control. Some narcissists use this dead stare as a form of emotional manipulation. By remaining emotionally neutral, They create an intimidating or unnerving presence that can make others feel uncomfortable. And this tactic can be used to gain control over a situation, dominate a conversation, or silence someone. The eerie, unblinking stare induces anxiety in others, leaving them unsure of how to respond. Number 4, cognitive dissonance or defensiveness. Narcissists often experience cognitive dissonance, an uncomfortable state when their actions or beliefs conflict with reality. When they feel threatened, criticized, or exposed, they might retreat inwardly and adopt the death stare as a defense mechanism. It's as though they emotionally shut down in order to avoid confronting their vulnerability or discomfort. Then you have rage or narcissistic injury. The death stare can sometimes be seen when a narcissist feels slighted, ignored, or criticized, known as narcissistic injury. When their inflated sense of self-worth is wounded, they might respond with a cold, blank expression as a way of regaining control. And this often is a form of emotional defense, signaling that they're shutting down emotionally in response to being hurt or criticized. A masked sense of superiority. Narcissists often view themselves as superior to others, and they might use the dead stare to demonstrate this sense of dominance. So by appearing indifferent or disinterested, they could be sending a message that they consider the other person unworthy of their attention or emotional involvement. I mean, you've all felt it. Intuition is your best friend. So when does the dead stare happen? During manipulation or gaslighting is one of them. Narcissists will often use the dead stare when they're attempting to gaslight someone or manipulate a situation. It can be a part of their strategy to disarm the other person, making them feel uncertain or anxious. When avoiding responsibility, if a narcissist is confronted with something uncomfortable like a mistake or a shortcoming, they might default to a dead stare as a way to avoid dealing with the situation emotionally. They might shut down rather than admit fault or engage in a discussion about the issue. When feeling threatened, if a narcissist is in a vulnerable situation or feels that their ego is being threatened, the dead stare can be a defense mechanism to protect themselves from emotional engagement or potential humiliation. In public or social settings, sometimes narcissists are going to use this stare to maintain control in social situations, especially when they want to appear superior or detached. It may also be used to exert power in one-on-one interactions, especially when they are trying to dominate a conversation or make others feel inferior. The dead stare can be extremely unsettling for people on the receiving end. It can make you feel uncomfortable or intimidated. The lack of warmth or emotional connection can leave you feeling vulnerable or unsure of how to interact with the person. You feel unimportant or invisible. Since there's no emotional resonance or acknowledgement, it can create a sense that the narcissist is indifferent or that your presence isn't valued. Leaves you unnerved or confused. The cold, unblinking gaze might make you question whether the person is upset with you, uninterested in what you're saying, or simply emotionally disconnected. So in conclusion, the dead stare is an unsettling but telling aspect of narcissistic behavior, particularly in covert narcissists who prefer to manipulate through emotional detachment rather than overt aggression. It's a way for them to maintain control, avoid emotional vulnerability, and project an air of indifference or superiority. Number 3, mirroring. Mirroring is another body language to look for. Narcissists often mirror your movements, speech patterns, or expressions to create a sense of connection. So while this might seem like a sign of rapport, it can also be a tactic to charm or manipulate. In hypnosis, one effective way to gain trust is by creating rapport, and one of those techniques is called mirroring. And these people have more often than not studied up on things like hypnosis and mind control. So if you pay close attention, they might cross their legs if yours are crossed, or pace with your speech pattern. The fourth one that I want to note is touching or invading personal space. They might invade your personal space by standing too close or touching you inappropriately or disregarding your boundaries. And this can be a power play as they seek to make you uncomfortable or assert control. Narcissists often don't respect personal boundaries, and they'll try to push limits to see how much that they can get away with. So body language, it can reveal certain aspects of a person's personality or behavior, but it's important to interpret these cues and with context in mind. Number 5, and watch for this one, palms facing inwards. The gesture of having palms facing inwards, particularly when paired with other behaviors, can sometimes be associated with narcissistic traits or a closed-off, self-centered demeanor. The posture, it can signal defensiveness, a desire to hide or protect one's true feelings, or an attempt to maintain control of a situation. So narcissists, they use this gesture as a part of their tendency to focus on themselves. They're holding on to themselves. They're not like you and I talking when we talk where we have our hands open, right? But they do it to distance themselves from others also. Palms facing outwards are generally seen as signs of openness and approachability. People who use open hand gestures tend to come across as more relaxed and transparent, signaling that they have nothing to hide and are receptive to others. These types of gestures are often associated with positive open communication and are more common among people who are confident and willing to connect. But it doesn't mean that someone who has their palms inwards are narcissists here. There could just be people that are not confident. They have reasons to not trust, for example. But it is typical with narcissists. Number 6, smiling or laughing at inappropriate times. Narcissists can sometimes smile or laugh excessively, but not always in situations where it's appropriate. And this could be in moments where they feel superior or when they want to demonstrate control over others. I saw that once with someone who burst out laughing ridiculously after I told him about my friend who was extremely psychic. I remember feeling both insulted and yet shrunk down to a nobody. It was a disgusting feeling. People can steal your energy. Number 7, pouting or brooding. That's another body language we're pretty familiar with, I think, here, right? When they don't get the attention or admiration that they expect, narcissists, they resort to sulking a lot of times or looking visibly upset. And this is a form of passive-aggressive behavior to manipulate others into providing them with what they want. They use this as a tactic to elicit sympathy or to make others feel guilty for not meeting their needs. Their behavior is often a way to demand attention or admiration. They're still trying to steal energy. Number 8, grandiose gestures. Narcissists often use larger-than-life gestures to reinforce their superiority. And this might include talking with exaggerated hand movements or displaying lavish possessions. It's a way for them to emphasize their importance and draw attention to themselves. They often use this as a form of self-promotion and to assert their status. Number 9, we have feigning interest or engagement. And you probably see that a lot with your narcissist. You've probably noticed that a lot. While narcissists might seem engaged in conversations, their body language might show signs of distraction, such as looking around the room, fidgeting, or shifting attention away from you. And this shows that they're not really interested in others unless it serves their purpose. They'll be more concerned with how they appear of what others are saying about them than genuinely connecting. Number 10, watch out for quick shifts in body language. Narcissists will sometimes change their body language quickly depending on how a conversation is going. So if they feel praised or admired, they might lean in or open up. But if they feel criticized or threatened, they'll do things like they'll cross their arms or they'll turn away or adopt a defensive posture. And these shifts, they indicate that their body language is often driven by how others are reacting to them. They're constantly monitoring and adjusting based on how they're perceived. Number 11, this one you know also, narcissistic rage, the sudden intense reactions. If a narcissist feels slighted, rejected, or challenged, they'll display body language that's harsh or hostile. And this can include clenched fists, a rigid body, or glaring stares, the death stare again. And these here are the signs of narcissistic rage: an explosive emotional reaction to feeling disrespected or inferior. It's a defense mechanism meant to reassert control over the situation and intimidate others. And number 12, overconfidence in nonverbal cues. They'll appear overly confident in how they walk, talk, or move in a room. And this is often seen in a swagger or a sense of entitlement when navigating social situations. And it displays their inflated sense of self-importance and superiority. Narcissists, they believe that they're entitled to special treatment, and their body language often reflects that. So, in conclusion, narcissists' body language, it tends to be performative, designed to assert power, garner admiration, or manipulate others. These people, they don't just yell, attack, and throw their weight around. They manipulate in all forms, including body language. So eyes wide open, pay attention. You don't deserve this treatment. No one does. And if there's any that I missed here, please leave them in the comments below, or tell me about your experiences. I do want to hear from you. So that being said, take care, and we shall hopefully see you in the next video. Bye for now.